In a social media age, you might call him Christ's top follower. Carlo Acutis grew up during the explosion of the internet, bringing God to the World Wide Web.
Through the computer, Carlo did so many evangelization.
Now he's a viral sensation. Kids all over the world sharing and reposting his story. And it's one that could break the internet. This teenager will be the Catholic Church's first millennial saint. A saint in sneakers.
He was around our age, so we could look up to him and try to do things that he did.
But before his canonization goes live, we're taking a look back at his life, the inspo behind an entire generation of young believers.
If I followed down the same path that he went down, I could become a saint.
Right now on Currents News, his growing reach from Brooklyn and Queens to all over the world. The life and legacy of God's influencer, Blessed Carlo Acutis. Hi, I'm Christine Persichetti. Welcome to this special edition of Currents News dedicated to the soon-to-be saint. Blessed Carlo Acutis is set to be canonized during the 2025 Jubilee year. But before that happens, we deep dive into this young man from Milan who has become an inspo for people in Brooklyn and around the world. And we'll start at the beginning. His name is now known by Catholics around the world, but at one time, Carlo Acutis was just a regular teen.
He lived a daily life with his classmates. He used to do sports. He used to be a normal young boy.
But what his mother Antonia could see in her son that others couldn't was a strong connection to Christ.
Carlo lived this presence of Jesus in everything he used to do. So even also the smallest things.
She says the Bible was his compass, and he lived his life in service to others, helping beggars, the handicapped, and children bullied at his school. But Antonia says his most important work was as a catechist. The Italian teen turned tech whiz created a website outlining Eucharistic miracles from around the world. In doing so, Carlo touched countless people.
Through the computer, Carlo did so many evangelization. So many people that were not going to Mass started to go again to go to Mass.
When Carlo was 15, he suddenly got very ill. But even while sick, he was still helping others.
He said, I offer my sufferings for the Pope, for the Church, not to go to the purgatory, but to go directly to heaven.
He would be diagnosed with leukemia, but the teen wasn't afraid of death.
He used to say that death is the passage through the true life.
Carlo returned to the Lord 6 days after entering the hospital. At his funeral, the impact of the future saint came to light.
When he died, the funeral at the church was full of poor people. Everyone wondered what they were doing there. The fact is that Carlo was secretly helping them.
Antonia says even now, close to 20 years later, she continues to hear about her son's saintly impact.
And since then, each day, more or less, we receive documentation of a possible healings, a grace, a conversion, many, many miracles.
As his mother mentioned, there are dozens of stories about Blessed Carlo helping and healing Catholics from all around the world. Later on in this newscast, we have the story of one woman who says asking for his intercession helped her heal.
I noticed I would start to have slight relief, enough relief where I could sleep. And that was my first feeling that Blessed Carlo was interceding for me.
Margaret Driscoll-Cheah credits Carlo for helping her with her illness. Coming up, she shares her story. Let's scroll now to the two miracles that changed Carlo's status from a normal teen to a soon-to-be saint. The first, which led to his beatification, was attributed to him in 2020. The Vatican said Carlo's intercession helped heal a child of a congenital disease that affected his pancreas. The second miracle, which was approved in May of 2024, involved the healing of a university student in Florence who had bleeding on the brain after suffering head trauma. There could be even more untold miracles after a relic of Blessed Carlo visited the Diocese of Brooklyn. In 2021, 7 strands of his hair traveled to schools throughout Brooklyn and Queens. The relic was then displayed at Sacred Heart of Jesus Church in Bayside. The pastor of the Queens Church, Monsignor Thomas Mahalski, saying it would evangelize the faithful of the diocese.
We're going to have the intercession of Blessed Carlo to help us in our evangelization outreach.
The relic traveled for about a year before returning to its final home in Bayside. It was because of a relic of Carlo visiting her school that one young student in Queens got her first introduction to the future millennial saint. She soon became devoted to Blessed Carlo and ended up receiving a saintly message from someone who knew him well. Currents News' Katie Vasquez has that story.
And remember, the Eucharist is the highway to heaven.
Khloe Chavez says she can watch this video over and over again. It's not from TikTok or Instagram. It was personally sent to her from the mother of what could be the first millennial saint, Blessed Carlo Acutis.
I was kind of surprised.
Khloe first learned about Blessed Carlo at her school, Our Lady of Sorrows Catholic Academy, a relic of the Italian boy who died at 15 from leukemia, stopped at the Corona Queens School. When she touched the few pieces of his hair, he touched her heart.
I admire him because he's young like me, I can relate to him.
She started learning about the teen, how he brought people around the world closer to Christ by creating a website of all the Eucharistic miracles.
For me, it was a blessing because the school exposed them to this young boy that was always with a book bag, talking about Christ, wearing Nikes, the same clothes that we wear.
Khloe's family is part of the Neo-Catechumenal Way, a spiritual movement designed to deepen the faith of its members through ongoing formation. When a fellow Neo-Cat spotted Carlo's mother, Antonia Salzano, at a conference in Manhattan, she told her about Khloe, and Antonia sent her a special message.
Khloe, I wanted to say hello to you. I know you love Carlo very much, and Carlo loves you very much.
A soon-to-be saint, mother, send me a video. That's crazy to me.
And even crazier, Antonia gave her a tiny piece of the future saint.
So this relic is a piece of his sweater.
Word soon spread around school about the video.
They were, let me tell you, when I showed them this video, they couldn't, their mouth when their jaw dropped.
But Khloe isn't looking to impress. She's trying to spread awareness.
He needs one more miracle, and he could be a saint like that, just touches me a lot.
That was Katie Vasquez reporting. Khloe's parish celebrated the soon-to-be first millennial saint with a statue on his feast day, which is October 12th. Hundreds of young people from Our Lady of Sorrows packed the pews for this mass and dedication of a Blessed Carlo statue. The image from Italy features the teen about to play soccer with his beloved family dog waiting happily by his side. It was part of an almost 3-year campaign by the church's Order of Christian Initiation of Children program. Pastor Father Manuel de Jesus Rodriguez says the students were excited to learn about the tech-savvy teen who promoted the Eucharist to the world online.
The kids are very much welcoming of Carlo. They like him a lot. They really very much involved in everything about his life. They visited his website. They really like the story and the person of Carlo.
After the Mass, the church continued the celebration with ice cream. Father Rodriguez says his young parishioners are planning to attend Blessed Carlo's canonization in Rome in 2025. The statue in Corona is one of many in the Diocese of Brooklyn. The first one was unveiled in 2022 at the diocese's annual Italian Apostolate celebration. The tribute to Carlo was permanently installed in a shrine at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church in Williamsburg. Another statue is at St. Joseph Church in Astoria. The teen who died from leukemia at the age of 15 is featured in a shrine with 2 other saints connected to cancer. Finally, as we mentioned earlier, there's a statue and relic at Sacred Heart of Jesus Church in Bayside. Blessed Carlo isn't just inspiring statues, he's inspiring classrooms. Over at Incarnation Catholic Academy in Queens Village, students in Blessed Carlo Acutis' classroom are learning a different kind of lesson. Current News' Katie Vasquez shows us.
Kids in Catholic schools do more than reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Everything you can about.
They're also growing in faith. And at Incarnation Catholic Academy in Queens Village, students now have a space dedicated just for that.
I said, look, we're going to have a new saint. We have to have models. We have to have better witness.
That model is what will soon be the church's first millennial saint, Blessed Carlo Acutis. The Italian teen brought people around the world closer to Christ by creating a website of all the Eucharistic miracles.
Carlos had a special love for God.
And through this classroom dedicated to him at Incarnation, kids can learn and relate to his life.
He was around our age, so we can look up to him and try to do things that he did. Did you know that he was a patron of youth and computer programmers?
And his strong faith.
Not that older than us, and he had to receive confirmation once too.
The parish of Incarnation St. Gerard Majella hopes this space will inspire the youth to get closer to Christ and be a catechist like Carlo.
If someone's like down or they're upset about something and they feel like they want to pray, they could come here.
There are still some updates to come to Carlo's classroom, like a smart board and 3D printer. But Incarnation Catholic Academy Board Chair, Father Joseph Jude Gannon, says the spiritual and technical elements are all things the tech whiz turned soon-to-be saint would appreciate.
He used technology for evangelization. He used technology to outreach to the world. And that's really what we're all called to do, especially a Catholic school.
In Queens Village, Katie Vasquez, Currents News.
Sometimes students step out of the classroom to learn. Our Carlo coverage continues just ahead. Connecting with Christ while praying in the pews, a youth rally in Queens. Plus, a woman who says Carlo is helping cure her cancer. We'll speak with her. And later, sketching saints as superheroes. Carlo's in a comic book. We'll show you. It was a sight to see. Hundreds of students across Brooklyn and Queens joining together in prayer, connecting to their faith with a little inspo from a kid just like them. Current News' Jessica Easthope brings us to a junior high rally in Queens.
My heart is the wind, your love is the flame.
Building a connection with Christ can take a lifetime.
I want more of you, God.
But taking that first step toward one can happen in an instant.
The presence of God, it was like I felt him with me, and I felt like so faithful and happy that I was here today.
No place I'd rather be. Sixth grader at Divine Wisdom Catholic Academy, Alexandra Olszewski, and hundreds of other Diocese of Brooklyn students got to explore their own personal relationships to Christ at Holy Family Church's annual Eucharistic and prayer rally.
I want more of you, God.
Through music, prayer, talks, and a procession around the Fresh Meadows Church, these students had their own encounters.
Holy Mary, Mother of God.
Pastor Father Sean Sukiel says the message is clear.
The truth is that God loves them, and this is a message that they need to hear often, is that they're made to be loved and that they are a gift to others.
Superintendent of Diocese of Brooklyn Schools Deacon Kevin McCormick says the closer students get to the Eucharist, the sooner they can find their life's purpose.
The Eucharist is what makes Catholics different. It's the source and summit of our whole life, and here it is we get to spend time giving thanks to God for that great gift.
And at the rally, students spoke about a kid just like them and how the Eucharist transformed his life. After learning more about Blessed Carlo Acutis ahead of his upcoming feast day, inspiration was flowing.
It made me feel really, really inspired because if I follow down the same path that he went down, I could become a saint. I just need to keep praying and keep going to church.
Blessed Carlo Acutis is expected to be canonized next year. His feast day is celebrated on October 12th. In Fresh Meadows, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Kids aren't the only ones taking inspiration from Blessed Carlo. During the National Eucharistic Congress in Indianapolis, thousands saw the work of God's influencer. This Eucharistic Miracles exhibit has been traveling the world, trying to increase awareness of Christ's true presence. It includes 150 panels of the miracles documented by Blessed Carlo Acutis, some dating back to the 3rd century. Those who stood in line to see the exhibit said it could help bring people closer to their faith.
Well, if anybody has a slighting doubt at all about the real presence, and you just read a couple of the miracles, and if it helps move their faith needle, it's going to help them in all aspects of their understanding.
And obviously, Eucharistic miracles have always been a thing, but now because of the internet, because of him, be able to provide a website for us to not just know about these Eucharistic miracles, but it carries his own devotion to Jesus in the Eucharist.
If you really take the time to read these, you can see how amazing it is about these Eucharistic miracles and how they happen. And even better, Blessed Carlo Acutis made all of these at just like a short age of 13 and 15 to help bring all of these young teenagers like me closer to the faith.
A relic of Blessed Carlo, a piece of his heart, was also displayed for attendees to venerate. A New York woman says a relic helped her feel the reach of God's influencer. In 2022, Margaret Driscoll-Cheah was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer. She turned to Facebook for thoughts and prayers and to ask if anyone knew about a relic of Carlo Acutis. She explains why she felt called to tag the future saint for help.
Okay, so earlier that year, our parish had obtained the panels of the Eucharistic miracles, and they had put them up a couple of times, and my husband and I really took to them, so much so that my husband insisted that we order the book of their Eucharistic miracles book. And we were very touched. I brought my mother twice during that period, who's disabled, to see the panels. I talked it up. We just really were moved by how passionate Blessed Carlo was about the Eucharist and the extent of the miracles that they were documented scientifically, the way the animals reacted to the panels, to the Eucharistic miracles. So we were sort of all in. So I guess Blessed Carlo was on my mind at that time. And also I had spent most of my adult life working with the youth. So I've always kind of been a second mom to a lot of my young clients. And I just took Blessed Carlo to heart, and I had a feeling that that was the blessed person for me, the person that I needed to ask to intercede for me.
Absolutely, and we know Diocese of Brooklyn Pastor Monsignor Thomas Michalski sent you a 3rd-class relic of Carlo. So you say because of that relic, your medical journey started to change. Tell us about that.
Okay, yes, that was in January. Monsignor Michalski could not travel with the relics to Syracuse. I was not well enough to travel initially. He was kind enough to send me 3 3rd-class relics, which were the prayer cards touched to the 1st-class relics. I began to put them on my low back, which was where I felt the most pain. My pain was so intolerable, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sit up without my husband's assistance, never mind shower or walk or anything like that. When I started to pray, and so many hundreds of people, God bless them, were praying with me for Blessed Carlo's intercession, and I would put the relic on my back in particular, I noticed I would start to have slight relief, enough relief where I could sleep. And that was my first feeling that Blessed Carlo was interceding for me. And from there, we felt the call to get to the 1st-class relics themselves.
Wow, and I know placing those 3rd-class relics on your body actually helped you say that some of the tumors aren't there anymore?
Yes, well, I had at least 8 or 9 tumors. Many of them were large. The one on my kidney that started was over 12 centimeters. I had a tumor in my pelvis that grew out, destroyed several bones on the way. Sat on my sciatica nerve. Many of the bones in my back were destroyed. I just had 8 or 9 large tumors. All of them are dead now but one.
Wow, that is just amazing. Margaret, thank you so much for being here with us. And of course, we'll be praying for you.
Thank you very much.
Still to come on this special edition of Currents News, holy comic book Batman, Super Carlo, it's a thing. We'll show you. And we'll take a look at the future saint's legacy. Carlo's website still live today, just a click away. You've heard of Superman, but how about Super Saints? An artist who goes by the pen name Mindy Indy is bringing popular saints to the comic book world, including Carlo Acutis. Courtesy's Katie Vasquez gives us a sneak peek.
Sketching with just a pencil and paper. Cartoonist and illustrator Melinda Stephan, also known as Mindy Indy, loves to let her creativity flow.
I've been drawing all my life. I just never stopped.
She's drawn a lot of different comics, but she is proudest of her most recent heroes. Called God's Superheroes, the series highlights amazing real-life Catholic women and men.
It really was the perfect, the perfect meeting of worlds here. I draw in a very exciting and dynamic style like comics are, but then it's incorporating the faith.
She drew her first volume in 2021, telling the stories of saintly figures like Blessed Carlo Acutis.
I learned about Blessed Carlo Acutis from this book, and he helps me with tech problems all the time.
And famous lay Catholics like Lord of the Rings author J.R.R. Tolkien. Mindy says this page took her 15 hours to complete.
I totally geek out on Tolkien, and I was drawing my versions of, the characters.
She offered Currents News a sneak peek of the second volume in the series, coming out in the fall. It features heroes like Saint Marianne of Molokai.
It was really fun drawing those illustrations because it's Hawaii is so beautiful, and I incorporated the cool plants and stuff.
Mindy is a devout Catholic attending Mass every week at St. Joseph's Church in Greenwich Village. She says that blending her faith and drawing skills has been a highlight of her career, especially when she sees other Catholics enjoying her comic.
A woman comes up to me, she was like, my daughter loves this Saint Therese drawing her name is Therese, and so she carries this book wherever she goes. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's super cute.
Mindy ultimately hopes to continue the series, but who her next hero will be? That's a super secret. In Red Hook, Katie Vasquez, Currents News.
Well, Blessed Carlo may not have been an artist, but his greatest work can still be found almost 20 years after his death. His website, called the Eucharistic Miracles of the World, is available in 17 languages, including Swahili, Urdu, and Vietnamese. It uses photos and historical descriptions to present miracles recognized by the Church that have taken place in different countries. The site also explains the Eucharist's impact on the lives of different saints. Overall, the project has been presented in more than 10,000 parishes around the world. And if you want to check out Carlo's work, the website is still live. Just go to miracoli-eucharistici.org, which is Eucharistic Miracles in Italian. You can download slides and see videos all about the Eucharist. That is this Currents News special edition. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Before we go, we want to take a look at some of those Eucharistic miracles Carlo featured on his website. Hope to see you again next time.